Welcome to the SPSS tutorial video on exploratory factor analysis. In this video, I'll perform an example exploratory factor analysis and illustrate options for factor extraction and rotation, as well as saving out factor scores. In this example, we'll be using the satisfaction with life and curiosity dataset. The only variables we'll use, I'll highlight, are the 5 satisfaction with life variables. Satisfaction with life should comprise one single scale, so when we perform a factor analysis, we would expect to get a single factor from these data. If we were to examine a separate scale, where we used more than one subscale, for example a self-esteem scale that examined 2 types of self-esteem, we would expect more than one factor. Regardless, the steps are the same, and I'll discuss what about the output should look the same or different from this example compared to other types of examples you might perform in class. Now, to conduct an exploratory factor analysis, we'll go to Analyze and Data Reduction, then choose Factor. We'll want to select over each of the 5 variables in our satisfaction with life scale to indicate which variables will be included in the factor analysis. We'll then have a number of options to choose from. Within the Extractions menu, we can either choose a principal components analysis, which is the most common type of factor analysis. We can also choose options such as principal axis factoring, which is another popular option, or maximum likelihood. In this case, we'll stick with principal components. We can ask the computer to display our unrotated factor solution, as well as a scree plot of our eigenvalues. We can also choose to extract the number of factors that have an eigenvalue greater than 1, or we can choose a fixed number of factors. For example, if we wanted a 1-factor solution, we could ask it to extract a 1-factor solution, or we could ask it to extract a 2-factor solution. In this case, we'll allow for the default option of choosing an eigenvalue greater than 1. Be sure to consult your class instructor before understanding whether you should choose one of these options or the other for the example you're working with. In addition to the different extraction techniques, we'll choose a rotation. Rotations are only used when we extract more than 1 factors, so it's unlikely to be relevant for this particular example. The most common type of rotation is a Varimax rotation, which is an orthogonal type of rotation. The second most common is the Promax rotation, which is an oblique rotation, which allows the 2 factors to be correlated. Again, for this example, it's unlikely to matter, but I'll choose a Varimax rotation, although with 1-factor solution, it likely won't show up as a rotated solution. Lastly, we can choose to output factor scores. For each factor within our analysis, the computer will create factor scores, and we can save these as variables. And we can also display these factor scores in a coefficient matrix if we so choose. Again, if we only have 1 factor, we won't get a coefficient matrix because it would only be that factor correlated with itself. So I won't choose this option for now. We will save the factor scores as variables, however, just for the sake of showing you how it creates a new variable. And we'll continue. We'll now click OK with the analysis since we've chosen our extraction and rotation methods. We'll notice that we get multiple tables within the factor analysis output. The first is the communalities, which displays the initial and the final communalities after extraction. We get a table of eigenvalues that illustrates each eigenvalue. In this case, we only have one eigenvalue greater than 0. So it only retained a single factor, as we expected, because satisfaction with life should be a single item factor. We can see a scree plot, or a graphical representation of those eigenvalues. You'll note that we have an eigenvalue of 3.44, which is indicated here in the graph, and the lower values are all below 1. You can see all of the values are below 1 in our scree plot. If we scroll down lower, we'll get our component matrix, which represents our factor scores. Had we obtained more than a single factor, we would have also gotten values in this rotated component matrix because we selected for a Varimax rotation. Now, because only 1 component was extracted, there is no rotation possible, which is indicated by this footnote here, saying that the solution cannot be rotated. Be sure to consult your instructor for understanding the differences between extraction techniques, rotation techniques, and whether you want to save out and later use factor scores for separate types of analysis. Regardless of the specific example you choose, you can follow these steps using the options I highlighted to conduct any exploratory factor analysis.